And yeah, we got a leak. We got water running down the downspout, and we got water spraying up here. I'd say that's not good. Hello and welcome to, well, Carlin's Worlds. Yeah, that should work. I'm a wanderer, a tinkerer, sometimes a nomad, a military veteran. I do things differently. There will be tinkering. I have a motorcycle, a truck, and a school bus. I live off-grid, so there will be some solar, batteries, inverters, and maybe even some wind. It blows. And that's all I can fit into about 30 seconds. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Cool. On with the show already. There's a good establishing shot. This is version 1.0 of my solar water heater experiment. Namely 100 feet of hose up in the sun. Stay tuned. Alright, this is taking advantage of the fact I've already got an outside faucet rigged coming off my water pump. Recently, I moved the water pump. I shortened up a lot of my runs. This is a RV style on-demand 12 volt water pump. Puts out like 40 psi or something like that. It's basically like household pressure. It works really well. I got it set up using PEX plumbing, and I now have plumbing running for my washing machine, clothes washing, laundry washing machine, which is inside the bus now. And I've also improvised a shower, which is a work in progress. I keep doing it a little bit better every time I have time. I tweak it a little bit. I'm working towards a more permanent shower, but in the meantime I haven't done the bus conversion yet, so I'm trying to keep things flexible because I keep changing my mind and things keep moving. So as that is, this is the water pump for now. Also, if you see further up, that white, that's a drain line that I've recently set up. That goes out to a hole in the ground, evaporation hole basically. The aft one is for the shower, the forward one is coming off the washing machine, and that works really well. That means I don't have to roll out a hose every time I do laundry. Now it's just done, and I don't have to worry about it. The next part of this is this black hose, or pipe, I don't know, it's probably more pipe. It's flexible, but it's fairly rigid. This is 3/4 inch, obviously black. See if there's anything useful left on the labels. 100 psi. ADS Polyflex, whatever that means. It's 3/4 inch pipe. Okay. I bought this specifically for use with a 12 volt marine grade bilge pump, which before I even moved out here, I bought the pump and I bought the pipe thinking this was going to be how I was going to set up my shower a year and a half ago. This was meant to be my solar water heater. What I found though is in the summer I didn't need it. The water coming out of my tank was about 100 degrees anyway, because it's over 100 degrees here in the daytime. So if I took a shower in the evening, my water was quite warm, and it felt nice to be not taking a super hot shower. So I didn't mess with this. Then about this time last year, so about September, October, it started cooling off, and I thought, man, wouldn't it be nice to have a warm shower instead of really, really cold water? All right. So by the time I got around to messing with it, though, I had two things happen at the same time. One, I realized that the water was so cold coming out of the pipe, it didn't have enough heating surface on this black plastic pipe to really make it worth doing. And the pump I had then was a good high flow pump, but it didn't have enough pressure. And I was trying to set this up to pump it up on top of the roof or something. I forget exactly my setup. But what I found was the pump didn't have enough pressure to push the water through the pipe. So it just basically didn't work. And by that time it was getting cold enough, I just didn't mess with it anymore. Well, fast forward to now I've got the better water system. I've got easily enough water pressure to push water up onto the roof. So I'm going to try this again. And so I had a couple pieces left over, and I was experimenting with these. So this is a short piece of the same black pipe that I had there. First I grabbed a 1/2 inch iron pipe, chunk of pipe that I had left over from another project. This is just 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch by 12 inch nipple is what they call it in the store. It's threaded on both ends. That's 1/2 inch iron pipe. That just happens to friction fit really nicely into this 3/4 inch pipe. Okay, because it's 1/2 inch internal size. All right, so it's about 3/4 roughly. So I figured, okay, that actually fits pretty good. So I was looking around, and I found these. These are 1/2 inch on one end and 5/8 barbed fitting on the other end. And 5/8 barb fits really good in a garden hose. All right. So I've got a bunch of that stuff happening in other projects, and so I had a few pieces left over. So I thought, all right, let me rig up this black plastic pipe with those 1/2 inch to 5/8 barbed fittings on either end. Coil that up on this roof that I built, and then hook up garden hoses to each end of that. That should pick up a lot more heat than the garden hose does even, and this I think will stand up better to the sun better. Also, I've had this for a couple of years now, and I didn't really need it for anything else, so I'll just test it for a while. And if I use it for a month now and then it gets too cold, you know, say November, and then by spring if I use it again, so maybe I get some time of hot water out of it, then that reduces how much time I need to heat my water for a shower. I'm still looking at probably getting a hot water heater for out here, but the one I want is about $300, and I'm kind of like, do I really need it? You know, last year I didn't need it because I ended up I worked in El Paso last year, and so I just had a gym membership and took a shower at the gym, you know, so that worked out fine. So this year I'm working and living out of the bus here more, so this is kind of becoming an issue. So that's kind of the backstory. Here's how we're going to set it up, though. I think in my world, just the fact that this might not work makes it worth doing. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody else or not, but that's kind of how I end up doing a lot of my projects out here. So there's a chance this is going to fail horribly. Two things that I'm keeping in mind, well, besides the fact that it's going to fail horribly, is I've got that hooked up to a faucet on the outside, so I can shut it off if I need to. This has got enough of a friction fit, I'm actually just turning it right into that. And then I'm going to put the hose clamp on the end of it. Now, ideally I'd get a barbed fitting that would match this. So basically a 3/4 inch and a 5/8 inch. I have no idea if that's even a possibility. You know, could you just go buy that exact fitting? Probably not. You need to do some magic or something like that. If I can do that by hand, that's great. Now, this is what they look like when you buy them in the store. At least these ones. It's 1/2 inch male NPT National Pipe Thread and 5/8 hose barb. That's what they come in. At least this one did. That was a Greenleaf brand. I bought these, I think, Tractor Supply. They've got a decent selection sometimes. The reason I wanted to pull one out of my pocket though is just so I could see how much thread I've got. So I think if I put the hose clamp right on the end. I've showed this trick before. If you find one of these screwdrivers, buy it. You take the bit off of one end, and that is usually the same size. Oops, wrong end. How about that? Take the bit off the other end. These are two different ends. Oh, now it's going to make a liar out of me. Okay, I don't like this one as much. I might grab a different hose clamp. Okay, it's on there now. We'll just use it. But most of the hose clamps I have, that one is different. Go figure. You don't have to use the screwdriver end. You can just use this as a nut driver, and it'll work. How about that though? It just makes a liar out of me. Okay, I'm going to get that up here pretty close to the end. And keep in mind this is plastic pipe and plastic fittings, so we don't want to kill it. I can tighten it down a little more if I need to. And I'm going to do that on the other end, and then this end, I'm just going to take a piece of hose, garden hose, and slide it on there, put another clamp on, we're done. This will go up on the roof, the sun will shine on it, we'll get lots of hot water. I have done parts of this before, and it works amazingly well. In fact, the sun we have here in Texas, I may have water that's too hot to use. Now, isn't that a fun problem to have? Alright, stay tuned, we'll finish this up off camera. Just for the sake of redemption, I made sure that the hose clamp on the opposite end does fit my tool. If you don't use it for driving screws, is it still a screwdriver? Rhetorical question, right? Anyway, that is so much easier than trying to get the bit into the right spot. It's just totally worth doing. There are days when I go to Home Depot and other hardware stores because the things I'm doing, most people aren't doing. So I have the hardest time getting exactly what I need because what I'm trying to do probably shouldn't be done. That's usually a clue when I can't find what I need. Maybe there's a reason nobody else is doing it that way. Anyhow, my reason for saying that is there are days that I go in there looking for a specific fitting and I come out with a whole bag full of hose clamps and say, never mind, I'll just figure it out on my own. I think what I'm going to do next, first get the camera back to a safe distance, because I'll probably whack it. I'm going to see if I can't coil this up a little bit tighter, and then I'm going to take my Gorilla Tape and sort of hold it together, and then just lay it on top of the roof. This is probably still a short-term project. I think almost all the pieces now. I was looking at making a solar water heater for solar water heater out of PVC pipe, which obviously is white, so that's not ideal, but I could paint it black. I say it that way because I didn't see a whole bunch of black pipe sitting at Home Depot when I was there. I'm not sure why, but they had whole racks of white PVC pipe. There's a paint, I think it's by Krylon. I'm not 100% sure who makes it. Anyway, the paint is called Fusion, and it's made specifically to bond with plastic. So if I go that way, I'll make another video about it. But my plan was build this assembly out of PVC pipe, paint it black, and then set that up on the roof and just let the sun bake it. And I suspect water coming out of there is going to be hotter than you want to take a shower. So that's kind of a fun thing to think about. Then you got to mix it down with cold water anyway. So since I work, get home by, well, it's almost dark by the time I get home, but the way I'm looking at it, the water should be hot enough when I come home to take a shower. And then you're done. You don't have to, you don't have to waste energy making hot water. Alright, enough chit chat. Let's go about that big, just because. And I can't say this is the right way to do this. I suspect there isn't a right way to do a lot of things that I do. As much as I like my Gorilla Tape, I have found that in the Texas sun it does get soft and doesn't stick as well. So, anybody at Gorilla Tape, if you want to send me some samples of your new Texas approved tape, I can do product testing for you out here. I'm laughing when I say that, but I have seen several channels on YouTube where people are getting samples of products to test in their environment. So I could be doing the world a favor. My only real reason for taping this up is so hopefully the wind doesn't catch it too much and Plus, if it stays nice and flat, more of it should get the sun. That's the thinking. I've done this with the garden hose before, and one of the funny aspects of that, your hose is sitting there, and if parts of the hose are shaded by other parts, you'll have pockets of cold water, and you're taking a shower, and it'll be nice and warm. All of a sudden you're like, ah, cold, and then it'll be warm again, and it's very strange. Not exactly what you would expect. It doesn't mix. How about something like that? So I guess since last year the project failed, if I call the garden hose the next version, this was version 3 already. Sometimes it takes it a few tries to get one that works. That's just part of the fun. That might be too tight. Oh, we'll try it and see. There are many ways this can fail. It's best to accept that. Alright, that'll be it for now. The next part, I've got hose ends. So I'm going to look at my chopped up pieces of garden hose and make myself some short adapters that'll get from, well, basically, follow the setup over here. I'll make one that goes up, follow that green line right there. So I'll just make, you know, a 6-foot piece of hose that goes up, and then I can open up the faucet, fill up the hose, shut the faucet off, shut the water pump off, let it sit all day, and then when I get home before I take a shower, then I'll turn the faucet back on, because I don't want that hose to be pressurized all day. And this is one of the things to be looking out for if you ever do this. That hose in the sun will get very warm and will build up pressure and eventually will burst the garden hose. So just be aware of that. You don't want to leave it with the pump turned on pressurizing all day, because if the hose bursts, you're pumping all the water out. All right, so leave the pump off. And what I did yesterday, I've been testing this for a couple days with this setup. Turn off the pump and then bleed some of the water out of the other end, and then close the, because I've got a valve on the other end of the hose. Bleed some of the pressure off so it's not sitting there pressurized, and then it should be better. Now if I had a drone, this would be drone footage, but in the meantime, just put the camera in the back of the truck and it's pretty close. Hose cutters. I've got a 100-foot hose up here that works well. but it's a really soft, flexible hose, and I'm worried about it being in the sun all day. I think it'll really break it down. This one's got more of a reinforcing layer. Also, this is really cheap, and I don't care if I blow this one up. I don't want to waste my really good hose, so I'm going to use this one instead. So the nice light green hose I'm going to take down and use this. That's the plan. Shower is on the other side of the bus. That'll work. Now, get a close up of this. I was talking earlier about how much this pressurizes, and I've already bled it off once today doing something else. But this will probably, actually no, it's probably down now. I'm going to get water running out of here, so I'm going to kink it, and then I'm going to let this water run into my trash can so I can reuse it later. Or at least that's what I'm going to try. The sad thing is, that hose is full of nice warm water that I'm now wasting. But that's part of science, right? The screw heads I used for putting the siding or the roofing on, the galvanized roof, corrugated, have kind of a sharp head on them, and I'm really concerned about pulling that hose off over all those heads. So I'm gonna crawl up on top of the bus and take it off, hopefully more gently. My mistake. Okay, we can fix it. Any water that's lost will go down a rain gutter. Perfect. And I lived. I think that'll work. Two ways to do this. It's easier if you got the step. I get up on the step on the tire, step on the fender. Remember, this is all fiberglass, so tread softly. But I'm over 200 pounds. If you don't jump up and down, you're okay. And then just kind of scoot on up. I've put my foot on top of that little lip over the light, right there. That's fairly strong, actually. This, to me, when I was thinking about buying the bus, side note to the side note, right? Get my beauty shot here. When I bought the bus, I had kind of a budget, say $3,000 to $5,000. I didn't really need a bus because I needed to get it out here one time. Don't think I'll ever drive it again. However, I like the fact that buses are strong. This guy, pretty much indestructible. You can walk up and down the roof, no big deal. It's better to walk on the seams, but even between the seams, it's pretty strong. A $4,000 used RV would just be completely hammered. It wouldn't be worth anything. So, aside from the vents that I had to redo, they leaked, and sometimes I get a little bit of leaking around the windows. That's just because they're bus windows and they suck. Also, I got sweat in my eyes. Timeout. That's a good look. Alright, we're back. Yeah, it's bus windows leak, you know, but for the most part the bus itself is watertight. You could park the bus on its roof. That's a design feature. You could put it completely upside down, wheels up in the air, and it wouldn't crush all your little kids inside. That's important. That gives me a little bit of a safety factor out here. I know it's not gonna, I know the wind isn't gonna blow it away. That's kind of important too. The wind blows out here. You can probably hear it. Okay, so let's take a look on the other side here. There's my hose. Now, what I'm gonna do, see if we can get out of the wind a little bit. It's gonna be blowing here too. I open up that window and I just grab the hose, pull it inside, hook it up to my shower, and we're set. For now though, I need to make sure that my hose is full of water, because right now it's full of air. So all I'll do, I'll turn on the pump, I'll grab the nozzle, I'll shoot some water into one of these until I get basically clean water, no air, and we're set. Okay, obviously now we're inside the bus. Slightly different from probably the last time you saw this. The shower used to be in the aisle. I took the dryer, moved it up. That little bit of white underneath everything else is the dryer right now. Right there, okay. So you can see out the window there's our hose coming over. I'll open that hose. This hose is hooked up to a handheld shower. Another one of those lucky accidents, you see. I had a brass fitting on the end of this, which is 3/8, that I had adapted to another piece of 3/8 hose. The first pump I had was 3/8. Actually, the second pump I had was 3/8. Just turns out that my regular 5/8 inch garden hose slipped over this where the fitting is, and then I was able to get enough pressure on the hose clamp that doesn't leak. So now I run garden hose in to my shower. And it's there, trust me. You can see it dripping. Alright, so when it's time for a shower, I'll just grab my hose, hook it up to here, and we're set. While we're in here now, another new feature from not too long ago, turn on my pump. Surplus switch boxes out of some service trucks I used to work on. When we refurbished the trucks, we put in all new gear, so they were going to throw these away. I'm like, I'll take them. I had no idea what they were worth. Each switch is over $40. They're breaker switches, so that was a good score. Okay, so pump is on. That was the pump outside that I showed you. Now I'll go back out here. Now, as it turns out, most of what we have done, if it leaks, the water will get picked up by my rain gutters. Kind of a happy little bonus. Alright, so what we got, trying to fight the shadows here. Okay, so let's see, we got to make sure this one is closed, this one is open. Now we're going to send water up to the roof. take a look. I'm not going to see a leak probably because there's mostly air in this line. Yep, that one's leaking. That one over there isn't yet. So I'm going to tighten this one up a little bit more. You can hear it too. No guarantee this is going to work. And I can see the other one leaking too. Alright. Other one really leaking. Alright, I'm going to get the camera out of the way. Now, if you can hear that pump cycling, that's because we're losing pressure. That leak I was not able to get to stop, but I'm going to bleed out the air anyway. You should have a bunch of air in there. Also, I didn't have that tap open very far. I'm going to fix that. When you've got a lot of air in the fittings, in the lines, it'll take it a long time for the pump to stop because it takes a lot to compress air. There's the air. It's not quite getting up the pressure. It's probably my leak on the other side too. There, the pump just shut off. So it took it a while, but it got up to about 40 psi and then it shuts itself off. And then as soon as you drop the pressure, it'll start up again. You can hear it running now. Okay, you're missing all the fun. I was kind of wondering about this, so let's go take a look. Pump is still running, right? And yeah, we got a leak. We got water running down the downspout, and we got water spraying up here. I'd say that's not good. So we'll shut the valve off, save some water. Okay, that didn't work. Good to know. Not everything works. It's a matter of it's not the right fitting for the job. All right, the garden hose end sealed up quite nicely. I just couldn't get tight enough to make that fitting. I mean, it's the wrong size. Right? I was hoping it was a friction fit. I thought it would work. Yeah, not everything works. All right, I'm going to crawl up on the roof again, take my garden hose back up there and just coil it up where I can reach it. All right, I got the green hose coiled up on the roof of the bus. It's smoother. I shouldn't have to worry about snagging it so much. When I coiled it, I tended to push it this way because this is south side. That faces more sun. The yellow heat, the yellow paint tends to hold a lot of heat, so that the skin up there is really warm. That'll warm up the hose nicely. And I kind of looped my ends around the vent up there, so hopefully that'll keep it from pulling down. And we should be good to go. I'm going to pull down the old one. hose full of water. Shut the valve. I'm going to bleed off a little bit of pressure from the other side. And we wait for a nice warm shower. Life is good. Okay, that's basically it for the solar hot water experiment. This would have worked if I had better fittings. I don't, and it's such a small diameter, I don't really think I want to mess with it. The garden hose I know works, and I'm just going to use it as it is, but it's not how I want to go forward. I'm going to look it up later, maybe put it on screen, but I saw a formula a while ago that tells you how many gallons of water a different length of pipe will be at a certain diameter. And when I first was thinking about using 2-inch pipes for my water heater, I realized that I could make, I think it was like 20 or 50 gallons. And I just don't remember the exact numbers now, but by using a 2-inch pipe, you can have, a lot of gallons of water concentrated in that thing getting hot. So where I would need 100 feet of garden hose, I maybe could do 20 feet of 2-inch pipe, or whatever. I'll put it up on screen. So with that said, this black plastic pipe is probably useful for some other project, so I don't want to waste it. I'm just going to drain the water out of it and save it for a future project. All right. Yes, I could put bigger fittings or better fittings on it and make it work. It's just not big enough diameter to make it worth the trouble. I won't get enough hot water capacity out of it. And because as it gets colder, this is starting to make a lot more sense to me. If I can build this probably on the roof of the bus where it's out of the way, where it gets lots of sun, make it with big pipes and let the sun heat it all day so when I come home I get a shower. I'm going to keep testing with that, and if I can make that work, my electric water heater was going to cost me $325, I think is the one I looked at. So if I can do it with less money or no money, less money if I buy pipes, but 2-inch PVC like these pieces over here, $8 for 10 feet, right? And I've already got a whole bucket full of fittings for those. So that might be the way to go. And the more I think about it, yeah, if I build it up on the roof, it's out of the way. I just run a pipe up to it, come down the other side, and we're set. I'm liking the simplicity of that. All right, stay tuned. Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, that should work. Cool. I do things differently. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Thank you so much for watching.